Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back. So today is our flight review of the MJX F46B brushless edition helicopter. Now, if any of you guys seen the first video on this, I talked a little bit about it, where I got it and so on. I replaced the tail boom section completely, motor and all. And today I actually did the fly bar, which solved my shaking problem. So yeah, those fly bars, you bang them too many times, you can't straighten them. But so we got a brand new one on, so it runs a lot smoother now. And we're going to try it out here. There's a bit of a light breeze, but we'll see how it does. Now this thing does have a real hyper tail. It has a lot of tail authority in it. Banking maneuver is not too bad. Backwards, forwards. Now of course you're going to get a lot more forward momentum when you got the wind to your back. One thing I have found about this heli is it does not really like wind that much. It's not a whole lot better than a coaxial helicopter. I mean, it is better, don't get me wrong. But when you're looking at something that's a single blade, it should move out a lot better. And right now there's virtually pretty much no wind down in this area. I got a lot of trees, but even those trees don't always help. But just the tail authority on this thing, that's like crazy. And this is, I've got the radio set up for full cyclic movement of everything. So it's at its most hyper stage. There's not a lot of difference between the stages. You've got 3 stages for your cyclics. And I don't find a whole lot of difference between them. And with having such a sensitive tail, you have to really go really small movements to make the whole flying experience a lot of fun, you know, like just doing maneuvers like this, for example. Very small movements, but then I get close to a tree, almost crashed, and that becomes a bit of an issue. So, you know, you've got to definitely be careful. And we're going to let it drop. So it is a bit hyperactive. Let's just check for damage here before we throw it back up in the air. That was a bit of a hit. It doesn't look like anything's damaged. Gears are still good. Didn't hit any teeth. That's good. Now, a lot of people may or may not know this, but when it comes to this helicopter, the tail blade can actually come in contact with the rotor blade. Apparently that's normal, but it only comes in contact on initial spool up. Once you're spooled up, they're not going to contact at all. So, but I would personally like to see a fly barless edition of this helicopter. You know, which would make things a lot better, I think, and smoother, and maybe a little more agile too in the higher winds. My blade tracking is doing really well, so we're okay there. But the lesser amount of wind you have, the better for this thing. But I expected a lot better performance, even for forward and backward. I've checked the servo links out because they are adjustable, and everything is putting out as much throw as it possibly can in all directions. So this is about the best that I think you can really expect out of this machine. You know, I do find that tail section though does have way too much authority in it for its own good. But otherwise, I mean, once you get used to flying this thing, I'm sure it's going to be very fun. And I think it is fun. I mean, I like it. I've had this up about, I would probably say this is about my 5th or 6th time since I got it. So even for me flying a fixed pitch single blade, especially one that's this hyper, I mean, this ain't no Light Hawk Arrow. This is 4 channels, and it's definitely not that docile, but it's still docile to a degree. It does take some getting used to. But I think once you do, you're going to have a real fun flying experience with this thing. I found out too, they've now got a brushless tail motor for this thing, which is going to be bonus. And I'm thinking I might go ahead and put that brushless tail motor setup in. Don't try that at home. I got a lot of practice doing that. But yeah, so I mean, overall, I mean, it is a hyper machine. Like I said, especially with that tail rotor. The wind thing, it's gonna have a hard time plugging through the wind, but it can do it, you know. I think a smaller tail rotor may help a bit. Certainly it'll always miss the blades that way on initial contact, but that doesn't really concern me so much as getting some slower tail action going on for the pirouetting. It has way too much, you know. The sticks are extremely sensitive on the radio. This radio also binds to several MJX models, you know, which is nice. And there's a record feature too. It's got the little record button. And this helicopter, if you look underneath here, you've got that mounting area for the camera. And I was looking at the camera online at Banggood, and I thought, well, hey, that's cheap. You know, let's get it. So I'm gonna end up ordering that down the road too, because I'd like to put a camera on this and see how it does. And but until I can detune the tail a bit, I really don't want to put a camera on, just because it's going to be too overly sensitive, you know. But otherwise, I think overall she's a pretty good machine. I did a trade deal to get this, but if I was to go out and buy it, I would buy it, and it's definitely worth the money to buy it. They're under $100 just as a bind and fly unit. Then get your radio or get the RTF version, whatever. But if you're going to go for any of this model of the 46, definitely go for the brushless edition. It does give actually a fair amount of runtime off that 700 milliamp battery, and you can get higher milliamp batteries for a little bit more runtime too, that'll fit just perfectly without adding extra weight either. So that's kind of bonus as well. But overall, I'd say, well, I need a bit more practice, but you know, with this thing. But overall, I'd say on a star rating system, I'd give this thing a definite solid 3 3/4 out of 5. You know, I think that's pretty fair, you know, and it's good value for the money too. I mean, you're getting a lot for your money. So it's priced really well too. Anyways, so there you have it. That's my flight review, and basically the finisher review on this thing. And so if you're looking for it, Banggood sells them, many other places sell them, you know, and you can pick one up. But like I said, go for the brushless, you know, and it saves you the expense of upgrading to brushless later. But they do have a brushed model as well if you know, don't or can't afford the money for the brushless right away. But they do have the brushless upgrade for the tail, and so I'm thinking I'm definitely going to invest in that as well. Then it's 100% brushless all the way, because these little brushed motors, they don't have a habit of living as long as a brushless can, you know, and they're definitely not as good as a coreless. But they do last quite a while though, don't get me wrong, they do last quite a while. So anyway, there you go. and we'll catch you on the next video.